thing. One of the things about us, and in my career, is we never really were concerned about taking risks. And when you understand being in business and some of the risks we take, it's like standing on the edge of the knife. You're going to slip on one side or slip on the other side. We had some big wins. That was one of them. We had some big losses also, and I'll discuss a few of those along the way and what you do about it. And one of the comments made by one of the speakers earlier on was, why aren't we as innovative? Because we don't have enough problems. Well, I had enough problems, so maybe that's why it caused some of the innovation. But we had what I've referred to as the 11th plague. White flies so thick that it looked like it was snowing sometimes. Now that wasn't the worst thing of all, but the worst thing was they carried virus. So in a very short period of time, we had the whole crop all full of a virus called a tick virus. And there was only one thing we could do about it, and that's put in insect screen. So we went out and bought 22,000 insect screens for roof vents and put them in quickly. One of the things you learn about insect screen in a hurry, after you put them in, it reduces a lot of your ventilation capacity, collects dirt, and you lose, probably the worst thing of all, is you lose between 15 and 30% of your light. So that reduces productivity by a large amount. But as we all know today, in today's world, you just can't do without, particularly when you're growing down south with a lot less pesticides available for use. And if you want to make biologicals work, you got to make sure that you keep the outside influences out. So after that point of time, kept turning in my head, what are we going to do about these insect screens? How can I build a greenhouse without insect screens? And then you dream and you think and you look, and eventually you come up with an idea, so you try it. So what we did was we actually started, and we did a test trial in one of our other facilities with a forced ventilation pressurized greenhouse thought that was going to decrease the amount of vents we needed in a greenhouse by 96%. And the question is, well, how does that work? Well, it's because our standard Dutch ventilo is not a very efficient way of cooling a greenhouse. When you want to cool a greenhouse, you open up the roof vents. Well, that has to let the hot air out the same holes the cold air is coming in. There's a conflict there, so you end up having a lot more air exchanges than you really need to have or want to have under some cases. And what a pressurized greenhouse does is we put in fans, and I'll show you a little bit of the picture later on, that gives us the capability of pressurizing it with a tube distribution system that gives you very, very uniform distribution. So after that test trial, then we built the last 16 hectares we had room for in this property, and the greenhouse got the code name of Ultra Clima. What you see over here, this is our last greenhouse we built. It's a 11 hectare greenhouse that runs off a power plant. So this site here is the same as Madrid, Spain, as far as south is. The one difference is it's got an inland climate, and that inland climate creates a lot of fluctuations and big temperature swings. It can go down to -20 here in the wintertime, and it can be 38, 40 degrees in the summertime. But one thing it does have is very low humidity. And through the process of getting this Ultra Clima greenhouse, what we ended up finding out was that there was a lot of other benefits that came with it. One of them was humidity control and the ability to cool the greenhouse a lot more than you would under conventional times. But you could actually take a greenhouse and put it in a hostile climate like this and do a very good job of managing what the climate was. So one would ask, well, why on earth do you want to build in a hostile climate? Well, one of the reasons is nobody else can grow here because it's in a food desert. Right over here is another picture of the greenhouse that we have in Utah, and here you can see the connection to the stack that pulls the heat off the stack. So it's it costs an awful lot of money to connect this thing up, but it sure is something that makes you feel good when you stand there and all you hear is the hum of the fans pulling the heat off of there, and there's no boilers running, there's no energy being used. One of the unfortunate things I think about this is that this is not something that the U.S. government is pushing. It's not recognized as green energy, in spite that it's, from my perspective, and I'm a little biased maybe, it's greener than wind, it's greener than solar panels, because you're using a product, a waste product that's actually going out the stack of the power plant rather than utilizing it. So in here you can see this, in this picture here, there's about a foot of snow on the ground, and it's about -20, and you're producing tomatoes right in the middle of Christmas. So there's something that's got to make you feel good about that. The other challenge that we've been having, particularly in the United States, has been labor. And I think, you know, it's coming in Europe. It's going to get worse here, I think, too. I think the Western world is all going to suffer from that problem. None of our kids want to work in greenhouses. And if they do, they just want to be in the business sector or in the marketing sector, but they're not going to be out there pruning. Where are we going to get all these people that are going to do it? Automation is one, but robots are one. We've started using a tomato picking robot for grapes. It works, but it's too slow, but it's coming. But now we just need to weather this point of time from where we are now to when that innovation really starts kicking in. Because what's happened in the United States is the economy is very strong. That's one thing Trump's done a really good job at, is invigorating a pretty lax economy. And the resulting thing of that is without proper foreign worker programs, we're running out of labor. Costs are increasing dramatically at about 10% a year in costs. And we need 10% more employees in California because of declining mandated hours per week that you're allowed to work. So that's creating a huge issue for us, and it's creating a big cash drain. Where our U.S. operations are not profitable, and we've brought in private equity firm to help boost it up. That's also not the answer. It's just one of those necessities that you have to do, and we're looking at other alternatives of what we're going to do to be able to get this company back up, you know, to the mere $10,000 a square meter revenue rate. But we're working on it. I think we're gonna make it through this period. It's not going to be an easy one again. But for those of you that are in agriculture, and we are at the bottom of the line, and you know all crop flows downhill, so we ended up picking up it a lot. So you really got to be innovative. You got to think about where you're at. And the other thing is sometimes you might have to get out of Holland and start producing in some other areas also, as we have done. You can see. But it does create a whole bunch of other complexities in a company. We also do have our own marketing. And so that's something that, for myself, I'm not a marketer. You got to make sure you hire the right people and you set up the right kind of company to do it. And you just keep on pushing ahead and going forwards. So my successor, I have 3 daughters, and my middle daughter is very interested in the company. She's working there right now, so I do have a successor kind of lined up. I've got a few succession plans to work on, which is going to be pretty difficult. But other than that, you know, after listening to Stephen Bellingham, there is a lot of things coming down the pipeline. But with all those exciting things coming, there's other challenges, because one thing we can't forget is that we still need our management. You know, these great artificial intelligence and robotization, et cetera, does not take away the business plans that you need to do. That physical or interaction with your customer base, planning, and getting your market set to future success also has to be there. So the world is going to get more difficult as we've got to think along more lines and move away. So my countdown is at 9 seconds, 8 seconds. So I'm going to say thank you for listening.